Yesterday, I promised why Mason Rudolph can be the guy for the Steelers in 2025 video. And we got a quick turnaround because I got it prepared for you today. That's going to be the crux of today's show. But first, we'll start off with some quick topics here. We got more aftermath information regarding the Pickens trade. This is coming from Jerry Dulac. This is even like further confirmation that Tomlin had a big part to do of Pickens not being here anymore. Like, we got some of that in the days after the trade happened, but this even further confirms that. This even like puts a stamp on Tomlin wanting Pickens out of here. Dulac did his chat script for the PittsburghPostGazette.com. Texan Steeler writes in and asks, "Hey, Jerry, do you think there's any chance MT opposed the Pickens trade but was overruled by Rooney and Khan?" Dulac says, no, he was behind it and all in on it. He's the coach. He makes the roster decisions. Rooney can intervene if he so chooses, but you got that answer. I think Kaboli came out a day or two after the trade and said this had Tomlin's fingerprints written all over it. This was a Tomlin-led thing to move Pickens on to the Cowboys and get him out of here for a third-round pick. But this is even like, this takes it up another level. This takes it up another step. No, he was behind it and all in on it. So I said when the trade first went down, it sucks. On paper, it doesn't really feel like we're getting better. But as time's going to go on, it's going to age well for the Steelers. And again, I think this is just another report that proves that. From an on-the-field standpoint, not having Pickens sucks. I really did want to see what him and DK Metcalf could do this year together. But if the vibes were going to be down with Pickens, if he was going to undermine the team-first message that Tomlin is trying to portray to the rest of the players, then it's just not worth it anymore. It's just not. The production isn't worth the headache. And let's not act like Pickens was AB here. Or even someone like Santonio Holmes, who was a Super Bowl MVP. Now that Super Bowl MVP should have went to Big Ben. But like Santonio Holmes is a Steelers legend for what happened in those 2008 playoffs. And we had no problems moving off of him. It's for like a 5th-round pick, too. We've gotten rid of Claypool. We've gotten rid of Deontay Johnson. George Pickens, in his 3 years here, he only has one 1,000-yard season. We see the flashes, we see the talent, but we also see the lazy route running, the inconsistency, and not blocking for teammates, and then some of the other drama that he brought to the table with body language, some social media posts, not interacting well with the media. So if Tomlin, the guy that consistently defended Pickens throughout all of this, if he had enough, then it was time. It was just time. I think this is going to age well for the Steelers. We get a 3rd-round pick for 2026. And even though it doesn't make sense from an on-the-field standpoint, I think this could still be addition by subtraction. I brought up the Claypool example many times when reacting to this Pickens trade. I think this could be the exact same thing. You had reports come out that veterans were frustrated with Pickens. They were kind of fed up. So now I think the team can breathe in some fresh air here. New start. We got a bunch of new guys coming in from the draft, some free agency, and hopefully all of them are going to be all-in, team-first guys, and we don't have to worry about some of the stuff that we had to deal with when Pickens was on the roster for these last, 2 or 3 years. The reports and stuff that is coming out after the trade, it feels like we're in a better spot from a team chemistry standpoint and a vibe standpoint. There's no doubt about it. And that affects things. Let's just be real. It's something you can't put your finger on. You can't quantify because there's no numbers related to it. There's no production related to it. But let's not act like it doesn't have an effect. It happened with us with Claypool. Again, an example I brought up, but it's happened throughout the course of NFL history. You see it in the NFL, NBA. Randomly, this trade happens. It doesn't make sense. This guy was talented. Why'd they get rid of him? Doesn't make sense. But then the team just gets better. Happens all the time. And I think that could be a thing here for the Steelers. Next thing, some additional schedule thoughts. This was brought up by Adam Schefter, and I think he made a good point here. The schedule is tailor-made for Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers' schedule is tailor-made for Aaron Rodgers, and here's his explanation. He talked about it Thursday on his podcast. Bro, I gotta figure out how to get this room, like my new setup and stuff, the new room that I'm doing this in. I gotta figure out how to get the temperature cooler for when I'm doing these shows. I put the AC on, but I guess I don't put the AC on for long enough before I start this show, because man, it's probably like, I don't know, it's probably like 72, 73 in here. I'm trying to do this. So I apologize. I'll get better. I'll learn from my mistakes. I'm going to have to put this AC on. I tried, I think yesterday, like 30 minutes before. Today I tried for 45 minutes before, and still not working. Still sweating bullets out here. I'm looking like Tomlin at the coaches symposium over these last couple of years. Whenever he's doing those interviews down in Florida, he's sweating bullets too. So now I gotta go at least probably like an hour, 30 minutes. I gotta throw this AC on. Anyway, let's get to this Schefter take here about the Steelers schedule being tailor-made for Aaron Rodgers. I think it's a really good point. He says tailor-made for Aaron Rodgers. Starts out week 1, they play the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers would get to go right up against his former team right away. Then from there, he would have week 2 against Seattle, a team that he's played and had a lot of battles with. And the other thing about the Seattle game being week 2, I didn't even think about this yesterday, the DK Metcalf revenge game. So right off the bat, week 1, we got the Jets. There's the revenge factor there. And then week 2, Seattle. I like that. They did it last year with the Steelers, with the Falcons game being week 1, and then week 2, Denver. Now, Russ didn't play in that Denver game, but still, I see what the NFL was going for there. And then I see what they're going for again here. Back-to-back years trying to get those first 2 weeks, the big-time storylines. Week 4, though, he says Minnesota, the team that he could not land a job with. I didn't think about that yesterday. That's a good point. Another chip on the shoulder type of game for Rodgers. Week 1 against the Jets, former team, they used Rodgers as the scapegoat in the offseason. Not fully the scapegoat, because we'll say he was the offseason scapegoat. I think that is a good way to describe it, because there were in-season scapegoats for the Jets. Saleh, Hackett. They felt like the receiver room wasn't good enough, so they go and trade for Devontae Adams. A lot of in-season scapegoats for the Jets, but then the off-season scapegoat, whenever they brought in Aaron Glenn, it was Aaron Rodgers. They said, you're not the guy anymore. We'd prefer Justin Fields, a guy that used to play against Rodgers in the NFC North, and Rodgers would own the Chicago Bears. I mean, he did that whole thing, the celebration, whenever he scored the touchdown against the Bears. Like, dude, yeah, it's almost like Big Ben against the Cleveland Browns. And Justin Fields was a part of some of those games in recent years, in Rodgers' last couple of years with the Packers. So, like, Rodgers got to be looking at it and saying, like, you pick this guy, Justin Fields, over me, Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP. You've got to be kidding me. So he can get that out of the way. Week 1, revenge. And then week 4 against the Vikings, another team that said, you're not good enough anymore. Or you're not good enough to the extent where we're picking J.J. McCarthy over you. Like, Rodgers got to be viewing that. Jets are taking Justin Fields over me and J.J. McCarthy over me. Like, are you kidding me? My bad year was 28 touchdowns. My bad year. And that was my first year off the Achilles. So there was rust the first half of the season. He's got to be he's got to be licking his chops. Week 1, week 4, couple games right off the bat on this schedule. And then you got week 8, the Packers, Sunday Night Football. Week 12, Chicago. You can see as this paragraph goes on. Wouldn't that be interesting? Aaron Rodgers playing for the Steelers week 8 against the Packers. Week 12, the team he owns, like I just mentioned, Chicago against the Bears. And then week 16 at the Lions, another team he's battled. Now, the thing with the Packers matchup, the Chicago matchup, and the Lions matchup, and I guess even the Vikings too, all these NFC North games, is that we knew the Steelers were playing those teams before the schedule even happened. But what I will say is I think how the schedule is organized here, you're catching all of those AFC North games at perfect times. Week 4, Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy still hasn't even gotten his feet wet, and he's got to go across the pond to Dublin. And then in the later games against like Chicago, the Lions, Packers, middle of the season, that's when the Steelers should be kind of hitting their stride as a unit. Hopefully the offense is humming, the chemistry's fully there. So I do think the schedule is kind of set up really well for Aaron Rodgers. If you look at how the games start off, or the schedule starts off, it's all those 3 1 o'clock games. So Rodgers can get into a rhythm, he can get into a routine, and then we go play in Ireland week 4. I think that's a good, favorable matchup or a time to get Minnesota. And then we got the bye after that. And then after the bye, so like that's pretty nice, man. Then after the Bengals game, I think I forget who we play week 7, but we got like a mini bye after that Bengals game. But we could prepare. No, I'm sorry, we have Cleveland. It's Cleveland then the Bengals. That's why I got it mixed up. But either way, that's not too bad. Cleveland after the bye at home, and then Bengals on Thursday Night Football after Cleveland. Then you have kind of the mini bye again after that Thursday night game, and then you run into the Packers. Then you got some of these NFC North games down the stretch. Yeah, the only thing you kind of don't like about the schedule, or that really sticks out, is the early bye. But it being after the international game, it does still make sense. It just sucks that we're going to have to go, what is that, 10 or 11 weeks without a bye in the second half of the season. And that's usually, again, when attrition starts really picking up with these NFL teams. I think it's a good point. That's why I wanted to bring it up. It's something I didn't really think about to that extent. It really is tailor-made for Aaron Rodgers. The 1 o'clock games to start. He can get in a pretty good rhythm. Obviously, we were going to have the international game at some point early in the schedule. Week 4, you kind of get it out of the way. You have the bye after that. You catch Minnesota at a good time. And then these NFC North games down the stretch when our team should be firing on all cylinders. And, Rodgers is obviously familiar against playing these teams. It's nice, man. It's definitely nice. Okay, that's it for schedule talk. Actually, no, we do have one more thing kind of related to the schedule, and this is going to be a good segue to the Mason Rudolph stuff, because Dan Orlovsky, Louis Riddick, Peter Schrager, Adam Schefter, and that is Laura Rutledge, they talked about the Steelers schedule on the SportsCenter special, I think, earlier today, and Orlovsky came in with, I think, a flaming hot take on how the Steelers are going to handle their early slate on the schedule here. Says, I think you're starting at 0-6 or staring at 0-6 in the face. I just talked yesterday. I had the exact opposite reaction of our early games. I think we have a good chance of going like 4-1, 4-2, 5-1. 0-6. The early slate is like the easiest part of our schedule, I feel like. We play a lot of the better teams in the second half, but I like how it's broken up a little bit. We don't have 4 or 5 games in a row against Super Bowl contending teams. It's broken up. All right, you got 2 legit games, like a Bengals Chargers or something like that, back to back, and then you throw in a Dolphins. You throw in one of these easier games like the Colts. It's broken up like a 2-1-2 type of setup. 2 tough games, easier game, then you're back to the 2 tough games. So it's actually kind of nice. You get the 2 games where iron sharpens iron, and then you get the kind of easier game. Now, let's also say the reality out loud here. Not every game's just it's not easy games, and we know how sometimes those easy games are the games you feel like you can let down. Go for the Steelers with Mike Tomlin being the head coach. That's why we call them Tomlin loss. And so you got to be buttoned up for every game. There's no doubt about it. But how it's laid out, I think it is a little bit better than what it was last year in terms of that like final 6-7 week gauntlet of us going up against legit teams week in and week out. There's a little bit of a breather. Again, we all know you can't take breathers, but human nature does play a role in this type of stuff. 0-6 with these early games. I don't see it, man. Like 0-6. No, I think it's 4-1. I guess we 4-2 for like the first 6. 4-2, 5-1. And I think part of the reason why Orlovsky's thinking this is, look, the second part of this tweet says Schrager, Orlovsky, Riddick are analyzing the Steelers QB room compared to their competition. And they feel like Mason Rudolph ain't going to be able to get it done. Like, he's going to be the main thing holding the Steelers back, and why, even though it is the easiest part of the Steelers' schedule, those first 6 games, that we might be going 0-6. We might be dropping a goose egg in the win column. I completely disagree. I said yesterday, we'd be fine with Mason Rudolph, man. I don't care if it's Mason. I don't care if it's Rodgers. I think this is legitimately an 11-6 team. Like, that is their capabilities. Maybe our full upside is 12-5, 13-4. And then, the downside, the floor is, 9-8, 10-7. Like, the typical range for the Steelers in recent years. But I don't think Mason Rudolph is going to be holding us back by any stretch. And now I'm about to explain why. And you know what, though, before we get into that, whenever I read these comments by Orlovsky, I was like, you know what? I feel like old Deke is coming back a little bit here. Like, I felt like I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder as I was preparing for today's show. Like, this is what Steeler Nation needs. We need this slander. You think we're going 0-6 to start the season? And Mason Rudolph is going to be hurting us like that? Mason Rudolph can't get it done? Okay. Just wait and see. Let's keep these, like, really hot takes coming. Let's keep these disrespectful Steeler takes coming, because we'll use it as fuel. The milk toast takes regarding the Steelers, we don't need to hear that anymore, because that's kind of what in terms of like a bunch of these media takes, it's either they've been gassing the Steelers up at points, like last year whenever we were 10-3. It's either they've been gassing us up, or like they're just like, oh, it's the Steelers, they're gonna go 9-8, 10-7. So there's no energy. There's no energy being transferred. It's just like middle of the road. And I understand that, because Steelers, as these seasons have been ending, we're getting the results that we're getting. We've been finishing middle of the road or just above average. So I get why analysts have those type of takes. I mean, I've been having those type of takes recently. Unfortunately, how this season ended had me thrown for a loop. It had me really bummed, man. You heard it the first month or two after the season ended. I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do, man. Like, we need change. If we're not going to get rid of Tomlin, like, there's some silver linings here. There's some ways we could do it, but I don't know if I have faith in the front office and Tomlin to get it done this offseason. But to their credit, they've made some big changes. They've been taking some big swings, so I like that. But with how the Steelers, and that's the thing, with how the Steelers have handled this offseason, I approve of it. But obviously you're seeing the national media not feeling that way, which is why we're starting to get these disrespectful takes. We're starting to get these negative takes. It's like, all right, let's keep talking about us like we don't belong. Feels like football's back. That's what I need. I think that's what the Steelers need. We need this chip on our shoulder. Prove all these people wrong. We need that energy, right? Tom Brady would talk about it. He would love hearing from the haters. He would love hearing from people that say he can't do it, or some bulletin board material that comes out before a game week. Use it as fuel. This is what we need. Oh, Steelers 0-6 in these first 6 games. Come on, bro. This is a trash take. I love it though. I love it. Keep them coming. Like, this is a terrible take, god awful take. I hope the Steelers use it as fuel. And I'm sure they will, no matter who the quarterback is, Mason or Rodgers. But again, I think we'd be fine with Mason. And let me explain. I did some analytics before today's show. I did some research. Big Deke analytics here. On Mason Rudolph's last 6 games as a Pittsburgh Steeler, you know how we talked about Fields' 6-game sample from last season, and like how you looked at it and you're like, man, it's 10 touchdowns, 1 pick. We were winning games. What would that have looked like over 17 games? Pretty damn good. He would have been like a top 10 or top 15 quarterback. And we feel like with Fields' talent and the upside, there's still more development to be had, which is the reason why I and other people were talking about potentially re-signing Fields and how it could have been a good option for us. But ultimately we didn't. But we could look at Mason's last 6 games in a Steeler uniform the same way. I think if you look at Mason Rudolph's reputation, the last 3 games of 2023 definitely helps. He ended on a very positive note here. But there is still that 2019 funk that sticks with him. But you look at what happened after he got benched. Like, these are the games. And if you want to even include the game where we benched Duck and had to put Mason back in at the end of 2019, like, he played really good there. He almost brought back the Steelers in that game, and it felt like there was new hope to the season. Then he got hurt. We were down like 10-0, and he tied it up before half, but got hurt, and we had to throw Duck back in there, and we couldn't close out that game, and we couldn't close out the week. I think it was at that point, was it still 16 games? The week 17 game against the Ravens against their backups. Like, it was a rough end to that season. There was a lot of ups and downs to 2019, but Mason, like, the rep with him in 2019 was like, man, he's scared to throw the ball downfield. He just looks skittish out there. He's not ready for the moment. But as soon as he got benched for Duck and then came in that Jets game after we then benched Duck for the Reindeer, he started slinging it. He started playing carefree. It's like, I got nothing to lose. I already got benched. F it. I'm just going to go out here and throw some deep balls. He threw that nice pass to Deontay Johnson in that Jets game. And then we never got to see him again because, like, Ben came back. But we've seen him in glimpses. We've seen him in moments. 2020 against Cleveland. You remember that? End of the season. We had the AFC North wrapped up. There was no reason to have Ben out there. There was no reason to have some of our veterans out there. Threw for 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Played really good. Lions game in 2021. Didn't feel as good in the moment because we ended up tying. It was weird, but he wasn't the reason that we tied. It may be in regulation, but in overtime, he made plays to get us the win. It was Pat Freiermuth fumbling the ball and Kendrick Green throwing the snap over Mason's head that ultimately got us the tie. But in overtime, he did enough for us to win the game. I think he left some things out there in the middle of regulation, in the midst of regulation, where I said, man, this is the reason why we have Big Ben. This game would have been wrapped up before overtime, like, no doubt about it. Ben steps up in the big moments in the fourth quarter. But 30 for 50, 242 yards, a touchdown and a pick. As a one-game sample against the Lions, short notice. Big Ben had COVID. I think he came down with COVID like the game or the day before. No prep for Mason. Actually, not bad. And then you have the 3 2023 games. The Bengals game where he saved Christmas. The Seahawks game. On the road. Must win to keep the playoff hopes alive. I guess a good Seattle team who's playing for their playoff lives too. Hostile environment. The 12th man. Balled out. We gave him the opportunity at the end of the game too. We had it. Final drive. We got to run out the clock. Seattle still has timeouts, though. All we need is a first down. And we don't go completely conservative. We put the ball in Mason's hands. First down, throws a strike to Pickens across the middle on a slant. Closes the game for us. Ravens, another must win. 18 for 20 in the rain. 152 yards, touchdown. Gets it done. We make the playoffs. Get some help from, what was it? Who do we need the help from? The Titans. It was the Titans at the time and the Jaguars game, because if the Jaguars won, they'd be in, but the Titans beat them. Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. And then the Bills wildcard game. He played good in that game too. 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. The pick down at the red zone, down at the goal line, that kind of sucked, but he threw it up to Deontay for him to make a play. The cornerback cut it off. Elam. I don't mind Mason making that read and saying Elam kind of sucks. He's the worst Bills cornerback. I'm going to throw it over that way and see if Deontay can make a play. The result wasn't good, obviously, the pick. But he also came back in that game, man. Like, he had mental toughness. He led the offense in the second half to within 1 score. And if the defense could have held up, and I don't really blame the defense too much. We were really banged up at that point. We were missing all of our starting linebackers. It was our defense was dealing with some stuff at that point. We were really banged up. We were really injured, but got it within 1 score. It was an impressive performance. Like, he didn't melt. He didn't fade away when the lights were brightest in that wild card game. And that was one of the questions we had going in. It's like, we're having this miracle run here these last 3 games with Mason, but now things get real. We're asking you to be the starter for us in the playoffs. He played good. So over these last 6 games, like, this is a nice, I know it's not the greatest sample and it's carved up over different years here. It's carved up over 4 different years, 2020 or 3 technically, but it's in the span of 4 years, 2020, 2021, and then 2023. But his last 6 games in a Steeler uniform, if you wipe out that 2019 season, and then when he got benched, everything he's done after getting benched is good. Like, it's just flat out right solid quarterback play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I took that stat sample and, I extrapolated it over a 17-game season, and that would be 4,255 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 9 picks. If you take those stats and look at what the rest of the quarterbacks did last year, that would be the 6th highest passing yards in the league and 13th highest in passing touchdowns. On a per-game average, it's 250 per game, 1.3 touchdowns per game, and only 0.5 picks. That's the question with Mason Rudolph, though. That's the big rebuttal to all this, right? It's like, we got to see it over 17 games. We haven't seen it with Mason. When he got the chance in 2019, you saw how that worked out. Ben gets hurt week 2, and we give the keys to Mason. It's like, here you go, man. And it didn't look too well because there is something to be said for doing it week in and week out. And that separates the mid quarterbacks from the great ones. They are able to do it week in and week out and put it together. And defenses have trouble preparing for them. And no matter what, the quarterback of the offense makes plays and wins games. I mean, that's what we had in Big Ben for over 18 years. It didn't matter what defense we're going up against. It didn't matter who we were playing. You always had a chance, right? So that's the thing with Mason Rudolph. Can you do it over 17 games? But look at our other options at quarterback this offseason. Wouldn't we be asking the same thing about Justin Fields? We were saying the same thing. It's like, he's got the upside. I like the 6-game sample that we saw from him. But what could he do over 17 games? Now, that would have been, I think, worth a chance for the Steelers to take, but the money wasn't right. We weren't willing to pay him what the Jets were willing to pay him. We'll be saying the same thing about Justin Fields as we're saying with Mason Rudolph. It's just that with Mason Rudolph, and this is why I like how the Steelers handled this thing, with Mason Rudolph, we're only paying him $4 million a year. We don't have ties to him really beyond this year. With Justin Fields, a little bit more of an investment. And if you're not feeling that great about Justin Fields, or if you don't feel like there's much of a difference between Mason Rudolph and Justin Fields from a quarterback standpoint, now obviously Fields has more talent, but let's not act like Rudolph doesn't have talent either. Can throw the deep ball at a really high clip whenever he's humming. We saw it over those last 6 games that I brought up. He's got the arm talent. The 2019 season and how he didn't really look like he belonged out there was because he was skittish, because he was playing timid. The arm talent was there, and that was our big complaint with him. It's like, dude, throw the ball down the field. Play like you got nothing to lose. And then he finally did. He got benched and is like, yeah, I can't keep playing like what I did. I got to be free out there, because if I'm not, it's going to look like what it looked like, and I'll just be out there playing not to lose. So, yeah, no matter what quarterback option we were going to take on this year, whether it was Fields, whether it was Russ, whether it was Darnold, like, you had question marks. With Darnold, you could be asking, is he going to be able to do it outside of Kevin O'Connell's system? And you look at what he got paid with Seattle, Steelers said, yeah, that's not worth taking the chance on him for $30 million, because if there's still going to be some question marks with him. And then you look at how he ended the 2024 season, not good. I mean, he looked lost out there in those 2 big games, the battle for the NFC North, end of the regular season, and then in the playoffs. Looked lost. So those are fair questions to ask about Sam Darnold. And if you're the Steelers and you think Mason's got, he's got that type of arm talent that Sam Darnold has, maybe he's not as mobile, but I'd rather just pay Mason the $4 million. We got the familiarity with him. He's shown us some stuff in recent starts that he's given us. Why not? Why not? And then with Russell Wilson, we know the question marks with him. Like, is he getting too old? Is he over the hill? As the season's going to go on, is he going to get worse and going to be more limited? Aaron Rodgers, you got questions around him, and it's most likely that we are going to be signing Aaron Rodgers. But if we don't, that's why I wanted to bring up this Mason Rudolph stuff, and I think the timing's right for this, because if Aaron Rodgers signs in the next couple of days, all these points that I'm bringing up are going to be mute. But maybe people can complain about Mason at Tennessee last year. Bro, with what Mason had to deal with in terms of his surroundings, actually didn't play that bad. And I talked about this on yesterday's show. A 55 QBR, that was higher than Russ last year. That was higher than Justin Fields and higher than Aaron Rodgers, the guy that we're trying to sign to be our starter this year. You mean to tell me Mason in a better situation in last season, and now he's obviously going to have that with the Steelers, wouldn't be doing better? Wouldn't be putting up some better stats than what he had in Tennessee? But the QBR says something. It says that he had to overcome what the team was putting around him. He had to overcome some of the team's deficiencies, not only on offense, but also on defense. Because a 55 QBR, that's not that bad. That's above average. And that weighs in first down stuff, like third down stuff, timing of plays, turnover, like all it weighs it in a little bit more than just your traditional QBR and just your traditional touchdown and interception stats. It's not the be all end all either, but it is something to ponder. Be like, was Mason Rudolph really that bad with the Titans? Or if, from my standpoint, if they would have stuck with him the whole year, as opposed to playing Levis for like the 12 or 13 games they did, they wouldn't have been picking number 1 overall. They would have actually probably, had like 5 or 6 wins, I think, with Mason. So I looked at some of his highlights. I looked at some of the context with his games last year with the Titans. The arm strength is there. He could throw a good deep ball. He can make every pass possible. And in terms of him versus what we had for the majority of the last season with Russ, because we talk about Russ's deep ball, Mason ain't as limited. The dude's tall. He could throw middle of the field. He can make every throw possible. Whereas Russ, that was the thing with him. Boom or bust. So I don't think you're missing anything on the deep ball. Russ versus Mason. I know Russ, it's his bigger claim to fame, right? He's more known for that. He's got the Hall of Fame resume, but Mason can make all those throws too. He's got just as much arm strength, and I think at this point, potentially even better than Russ. But then you add the fact that Mason can make way more throws across the middle of the field, hang in the pocket. And that's something he's been doing too, not only with the Titans, with what he was dealing with on offense and, that lackluster roster there, lackluster offensive line, receivers extremely below average. He hung in the pocket. He still hung in the pocket, and we saw that with the Steelers. He was not afraid. He did not play timid. He was not playing skittish out there. Hung in the pocket, and then would deliver strikes. So let's not count out Mason Rudolph. In his 6 games, it was a 3-2-1 record. We were talking about Fields having a 4-2 record. It's like, man, this ain't going to be as bad as people are talking about, man. It's not. Mason Rudolph can win games here. We've got to see it over the last 6-game sample in a Steeler uniform. I thought he played decent with the Titans last year. He had to deal with basically the worst roster in football, both offensively and defensively. And still did some things. Still ended up with a 55 QBR. Still ended up with, I think, 63 or 64% completion percentage with the Titans last year. Now he gets to a better situation with the Steelers. Familiarity's there. Like, why can't we at least go 9-8, 10-7, have a 11-6 type of season with Mason Rudolph? I don't see why not. I really don't. He's got to do it over 17 games for sure. That's the question mark. That's what we got to find out. But we would be asking the same questions. We would have some of these concerns with whatever quarterback we throw out there, whether it's Rodgers, even with the age. Like, is he going to be able to get back to Aaron Rodgers? I've talked about Russ, Justin Fields, same thing with him as we're talking about with Mason Rudolph. Is Justin Fields going to be able to do it for 17 games, full season, be that guy? He did it for 6, and there were some ups and downs there. I thought for the most part he played pretty good. He was worth taking a chance on, but there were some ups and downs. Let's not act like he closed the door on being the starting quarterback. And there was a reason why Tomlin went with Russ. The door was open. I would have stuck with Fields for more games, but I don't think there was a strong rebuttal for sticking with Fields versus just at least seeing what Russ got. There wasn't a strong rebuttal for that. I understood it. Fields left the door open to an extent. And then Darnold, there's question marks too. So why not Mason? Like, that's my question. Why not Mason? I think we can win games. 0-6 from Dan Orlovsky. Give me a break. hot take, terrible take. If we start with Mason, we're not going 0-6. I'll tell you that. I think we'll have a winning record. I would bet some good money on that. So that's it for, I guess, my case for Mason Rudolph. If we do end up going with him, that will be fine. And if not, here's the thing. I think the Steelers are playing with house money here this year. If Rudolph sucks as much as the national media thinks he is going to, okay, fine. Then we're set up great for 2026 and trying to get Arch Manning or one of these top quarterbacks. Fine. But we're not. We're going to at least be good enough. And I still think Mason got upside. Call me biased. Call me blind because of Mason's 2023 season and that run we went on. Whatever. But I know what I saw. And I don't think because he just went to the Titans last year, he's lost his talent. He lost his arm strength. Or lost that ability that we saw in 2023, some of those flashes. I just think he was playing for a bad team, a bad situation. But you still saw some good in Mason with the Titans, elevating the team at times, doing what he had to do to keep the team, the Titans, competitive and win games and try to get them out of stadiums. So that's it. We'll be all right with Mason if it comes down to that. But ultimately, the chances are very high that we sign Aaron Rodgers. And this combo, this show may be irrelevant sooner rather than later. But anyway, I thought it was a worthwhile video to make.